What's up, guys? Welcome back to The Right Side. Today, I want to talk about the separation between church and state. In a letter to the Danbury Baptist Association on January 1st, 1802, Thomas Jefferson writes, "The affectionate sentiments of esteem and approbation which you are so good as to express towards me on behalf of the Danbury Baptist Association give me the highest satisfaction. My duties dictate a faithful and zealous pursuit of the interests of my constituents, and in proportion as they are persuaded by my fidelity to those duties, the discharge of them becomes more and more pleasing. Believing with you that religion is a matter which lies solely between man and his God, that he owes account to none other for his faith or his worship, that the legitimate powers of government reach actions only and not opinions, I contemplate with sovereign reverence that act of the whole American people which declared that their legislature should, quote, make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, unquote, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. Adherent to this expression of the supreme will of the nation in behalf of the rights of conscience, I shall see with sincere satisfaction the progress of those sentiments which tend to restore to man all his natural rights, convinced he has no natural right in opposition to his social duties. I reciprocate your kind prayers for the protection and blessing of the common Father and Creator of man, and tender you for yourselves and your religious association assurances of my high respect and esteem." I start this video by reading you that letter, which may be the most misquoted letter in American politics. I say misquoted because, contrary to popular belief, the constitutional principle of separating church and state isn't constitutional at all. Like democracy, the separation between church and state isn't found once in the entire U.S. Constitution. What is said in the Constitution in the First Amendment is a prohibition on the establishment of religion, which means that the U.S. government is constitutionally barred from legally respecting a state religion or from establishing in a legal sense America as a Christian nation. The argument stemming from this misreading is that we don't or can't legislate morality. This video is about that, because that idea and concept are not only utterly idiotic and contradictory, but also intellectually lead to a dissolution of morality itself. The idea that we don't or can't legislate morality stems from the concept that morality is subjective and individual rather than objective and standard. This idea isn't new to you if you've attended college in the past 10 to 15 years. Subjective morality began being pushed after World War II, but it wasn't until the left fully infiltrated the university system in the 60s and 70s that abstract ideas and principles became propagandized indoctrination. This, of course, has seen an explosion in recent years as wokeness and DEI have proliferated in academia. This is also what others call postmodernism, where the existence of truth itself is questioned, leading, for example, to the absurdity of gender ideology and whether males can become females. The argument that we don't or can't legislate morality makes zero sense and fails at the first step of logical consideration. The nature of law is to create parameters around human behaviors that we want to punish and deter. The principal element that we target with laws is the immorality of that behavior. The deeper idea of whether we can legislate morality is what standard of morality we are using as a measuring stick. This is where subjective morality comes into play. To the atheistic Marxist woke left, who believes it's a moral imperative that we all pay for state-run healthcare, state-allocated retirement stipends, and for the state to confiscate all guns, making decisions on behalf of other people, morality is subjective and varies from individual to individual. What is immoral to one person is not and cannot be objectively immoral to another. It's the logical conclusion to radical individualism. This works in theory as long as everyone happens to share the same individual subjective morality. That is, everyone agrees that murder or crimes involving children are wrong. Where the rubber meets the road, however, is when this isn't the case. When someone claims that their subjective morality enables them to commit acts that are out of line with the subjective morality of others, in this case, no one has the moral authority to step in and cease that individual's behavior, as that would include imposing their own subjective morality over another. So if there is no objective moral standard we can hold each other to, what, in fact, do we legislate according to? Instead of an objective moral standard, a morally subjective society legislates according to majoritarian rule, rendering moral right and wrong to the mercy of a simple majority at a given point in time. This is obviously disastrous and why democracy is deeply flawed. Subjective morality allows for a simple skim majority to approve of atrocities like genocide. As I said earlier, subjective morality comes from radical individualism, which holds the individual and their wants, needs, and self-identity sacred and paramount. It places the individual at the top and seeks to structure society to maximize the individual in their private pursuits, even at the expense of others. A society where morality is subjective subjective is void of any kind of social accountability or integrity, which is exactly the type of society that the Marxist postmodernists envisioned after World War II. This wasn't a mistake. One can argue it's a naive view of the world that values nihilism and hedonism above all else, but the push was intentional. A push made by the left who had to repackage the ideology that led to the Second World War. Designed to appeal to the most vulnerable and susceptible parts of the human psyche, affecting social validation and moral justification, meant not to drive the individual to be better by valuing duty and honor, but to drive the individual to be narcissistic and self-gratifying. The logical absurdity of subjective morality proves the existence of objective morality. Instead of living in a world where morality starts and ends with the desires of the individual, there is a fixed structure of morality that is independent of the desires of the individual or society, regardless of time and place. Only in a world with objective morality could society function with proper impartial justice, where the guilty are judged not according to the ambiguous standards set by a majority of nihilists, but according to fixed rules that apply equally to everyone objectively set by God. That is why the functions of the church cannot be separated from the functions of the state, as a world that attempts to operate as if there is no objective morality created by God, therefore turns everyone into their own God. Objective morality prevents the eventual wrath of an individual upon another from being an accepted form of justice, where the eventual sense of moral justice on the part of the vengeful actor is, by its nature, an emotional, reactive, and relative. A moral and justly functioning society necessitates the existence of an objective morality to establish law and preserve order in a measured and equal way. While we may not want the state to foist a state religion upon us, there is no debate that the very morals that we legislate upon to determine what is right and wrong come from an existing objective moral framework. Where many may argue that subjective morality still exists in the structure I described, I say you're right. Kind of. Unlike the systems devised by the left, where the rules of their game necessitate your submission to their will, you can believe in subjective morality whilst living in a world of objective morality and still be protected by its just and equal structure. However, just like how you can be a socialist in a capitalist society, but you can't be a capitalist in a social society, you can't believe in an objective morality if you live in a world where morality is, in fact, subjective. If morality were subjective, and the actions of one individual were uncondemnable from someone else, then my belief in objective morality is as real as society's acceptance of a victimizer's subjective sense of morality upon their immoral actions towards their victims. In other words, in a world where morality is subjective, my belief in objective morality is meaningless, as I am at the mercy of my neighbor's subjective sense of what he deems to be moral. In reality, morality isn't subjective, it's objective. It's given to us by God so that we may have a just and equal structure of law and order, where we can be judged impartially by laws based on a fixed and unchanging set of right and wrong. In the end, the idea that we can separate morality from law is a myth, and the push for a subjective morality is a deliberate effort to dismantle objective truth. When Thomas Jefferson wrote about a wall of separation between church and state, he wasn't advocating for the removal of morality from governance. He was ensuring that the government wouldn't impose a state religion. That's a crucial distinction that has been twisted over time to serve an anti-religious agenda. Every law we pass reflects some moral standard. The real question is, whose morality will shape our society? The left has embraced a radical, postmodernist worldview that denies objective truth, replacing it with subjective morality that bends to the will of the majority. This is dangerous because it allows morality to be redefined at any moment, leading to the justification of atrocities under the guise of progress. Just and orderly society requires a fixed moral foundation that doesn't change with political trends or social whims. That foundation comes from objective morality, which is ultimately rooted in God. Without it, laws become arbitrary and justice becomes whatever those in power decide it to be. So the argument is about whether morality should be legislated. It always is. The real battle is over which moral framework we choose are governed by. Objective moral standard that guarantees true justice, or a subjective one that paves the way for tyranny. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button. If you'd like to support and help the channel grow, become a member, subscribe, ring the bell to stay updated with all my uploads. Finally, whether you agree or disagree, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I look forward to engaging with you guys in respectful and thoughtful discussions. With that said, I'll see you guys next video. See ya.